Next, as Professor Song said, we are honored to have our next guest, who might be called by God to come and share this occasion with us. Please, you can welcome the Consul General of the United States to Hong Kong and Macau, Mr. Clifford Hart.
That's as much as you get this evening, I'm afraid. Professor Song, Professor Fong, dear friends, everybody, good evening. It's a great pleasure to be here tonight. As the U.S. Consul General, I'm of course delighted to be up here to be helping to introduce an evening of performance. Remember, we're calling the extraordinary life of an American. And we're of course very proud of her in the States. But that's not why most of you all are here. I mean, she was an individual, an American living in a particular period in my country's history. The circumstances at that time mattered in certain particulars. But Fanny Crosby is most important because of the universal values she touches upon. There are certain key areas of inspiration that I think reach across the century. Here we are 100 years on after this woman passed away, and yet we're still doing productions about her life on the other side of the planet from the place where she grew up and spent her entire life. I mean, there are whole libraries, I'm sure, written on her work. I would just toss out her inspirations in 4 areas are noteworthy, and they speak to all of us, whatever your country or your condition. I mean, the fact that she's a woman, that she was disabled, that she was, of course, of deep faith, that she was a missionary. At all levels, this is important. I think if we're going to put her, if we're going to define her as she would define herself, one has to put that third point actually first. And that she was above all driven by a profound and deep faith in her religion. For all of us who celebrate religious faith, this sort of dynamism and inspiration is quite remarkable. From a social perspective, as a woman born in 1820 in the United States, a time when women enjoyed few rights in the U.S. or any other place else on earth, she had extraordinary challenges with anything done in society. On top of that, from early infancy, she was blind. And yet, nonetheless, by the end of the century, she'd become a household name, not just in the United States, but globally, as a result of this extraordinary wealth of hymns that she wrote. Somewhere between 9,000 and 10,000 or more hymns she generated. She was, in fact, unable to write. And so as she would do 6 or 7 hymns a day, she would have all these words jumbled in her head and would dictate them. Like at one point, she had as many as 40 hymns operating simultaneously in her mind. I couldn't hold 40 ideas simultaneously of any sort. And it's just really quite remarkable. I would note from her own perspective too, defining her as she defined herself, she did not think of her particular principal gift to humanity as being the hymns that she wrote. She saw herself as a missionary. And she spent much of the last part of the 19th century, and as she became very old, the early 20th century, ministering to the immigrants and other deeply poor people of New York City and other urban areas, but particularly around New York. Lived a really quite remarkable life of great relative poverty, in fact. One of the sad things about her life was because of the way copyright laws were written in those days, lyricists made very little money off of their work, where the money went to the composers and the publishers. And indeed, she had a very small estate when she finally passed away 100 years ago today. I would note that we're impressed by the progress that's occurred since her death. 5 years after she passed away, the United States adopted the 19th Amendment to our Constitution, which provided for women's suffrage. Great progress. As far as her handicaps are concerned, I'd note that this is a great year. 2015 is the 25th anniversary of the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the first comprehensive law of its kind anywhere in the world that guaranteed opportunity to people with handicaps. I'm pleased about that, and I'm proud about it, and I think it's a great thing for my country, and I'm pleased that the countries have followed the example. I would just toss out that was 75 years after this remarkable woman passed away. And it underscores the kinds of challenges we still face, the challenges women face still around the planet, the challenges that handicapped people face around the planet. I would just say that under those circumstances, I think for people of faith, it's not unusual they remain motivated by the extraordinary words that she wrote 100 and more years ago as we approach these challenges and many others we have in our world today. But again, thank you so much for having me this evening. It's a real honor to be here. Good evening.